Follow me closer, please.
Try and do this without another 10 minutes of crying. But Paige was the kind of friend that refused to let you fight your battles alone. She was a fucking warrior of kindness and of understanding and of just pure fucking, like, genuine life. Like, the best parts of life in, like, a person. She was such a fucking warrior of, like, you don't have to be alone, like you don't have to fight these battles by yourself. Like, you're allowed to exist. You're allowed to just be. She was always there for me, like, and I tried my best to be there for her, but she definitely, like, redefined what it is to be a good friend for me, and I know for a lot of people, because she was so fucking kind. She was so genuine, so, like, she was Paige.
Tonight I drink to you for all the times we spent and all the time we did.
Paige Ann Balinski was born on July 17th, 1992 at the San Jacinto Hospital in Baytown, Texas. It's a small city about 25 minutes east of Houston. She would be raised around her loving family in a nearby town called Crosby. There, she attended grade school, making several friends throughout the years, one of them being her lifelong friend Hillary. The two lived just a block away from each other and met at ages 11 and 12. Hillary says that the first time that they happened to meet was a result of their older sisters being friends. They didn't click right away. Instead, they had standoff attitudes towards each other. Some time would pass, and they would eventually warm up to each other and hang out every day, and would meet up at the corner of the block where their respective streets would cross, where they would just sit and talk about everything under the stars. Hillary stated that their conversations were effortless and intimate, which is what she misses most about Paige. The two would eventually move further away from each other and had periods where they wouldn't hang out, but when they would get back together, it would seem like nothing had ever changed. Eventually, Hillary would ask Paige to be in her wedding, and she was really, really excited about being involved in the entire thing. Paige was also involved in activities such as biking, dance, and gymnastics. She actually joined the West Valley gymnastics team in Fairbanks, Alaska for 6 months. She eventually would move back to Crosby and would work at the local Murphy's gas station. She also worked at Halloween Express because Halloween was one of her favorite holidays.
Maybe I'm insane, maybe it's a game, maybe I'm in love with the flood, not the rain, maybe there's a reason.
Paige would have another childhood friend by the name of Brandy, who lived close by her, and they would go out and have fun. They went to their first concert together and got their first tattoos together. And speaking of tattoos, Paige was actually really into tattoos. She had a bunch of them, as you can see in these photos. Paige loved animals, especially her two dogs, Karma and Artemis. She would always treat them like royalty and take them on lots of adventures with her anywhere she went. I remember first meeting Paige in 2012, but we wouldn't become good friends until a year later in 2013. We often would go to St. Arnold's Brewery or the Moon Tower Inn just to hang out and have fun with everyone. I've always been involved in the local Houston music scene, and often I would invite friends to go out to see bands with me. Paige was one of the few that would always be down to go to a show, no matter what the genre was. Along the way, she would make many, many friends, attending not just local shows, but bigger concerts as well. Nothing is quite like going to a local show and hanging out with your friends, enjoying their performances. We would often go see the Bandulus, the Dead Rabbits, Fusca, and of course Days and Days, our favorite. I remember at one show, Whitney was giving out stick and poke tattoos of the Days and Days logo to anyone that would want one. Paige and our good friend Kim got the logo on them that night. I can't even count in my head how many times we would go out to see Days and Days. They truly were a band that Paige and I bonded over. In 2016, Days and Days would have a homecoming/tour kickoff show planned for June 4th, which my band at the time, DDA, was set to play. Paige and I messaged each other about the show that week, and we were trying to make the show a more fun experience for all of our friends. But unfortunately, the day of the show, I got a phone call from my close friend Steven, and he was telling me that Paige was in the hospital and things weren't looking good.
When her family called me and told me that she had been in an accident, I was over at my sister's house. My brain went on autopilot, I guess. Like, she's hurt. I don't know what's going on. I need to be there. I need to get there. So I raced over. I saw her. I never. I guess I never said goodbye to her. There's no goodbyes.
You can see and hear how fast cars zip down FM 2100 in Crosby.
I don't see how anybody could just hit and then run, you know?
Unfortunately, that's what happened to Melissa Balinski's sister, Paige, at 2 a.m. Saturday. The 23-year-old and her friend were biking back from Applebee's on FM 2100 when Harris County deputies say a Jeep Cherokee slammed into her, heading northbound.
With Paige, she was a dear friend of mine.
Hillary Valverde was not the friend biking with Paige, but she was the first on the scene.
I just went to her side and I held her hand. And when I get around her, it's like a little piece of home. I don't really have a lot of friends, so that's what I'm gonna miss, is her, everything about her.
It hurts, sir. It really does. I just can't stop thinking about her, man.
Patrick St. Romain, Paige Balinski's friend of 6 years, went with her to Applebee's on FM 2100 late Friday night. The pair left the restaurant just before 2 a.m. on bikes. Romain remembers he was a little bit ahead of Balinski, who was closer to the roadway. That's when she was hit by a white Jeep Grand Cherokee traveling in the same direction, right by the rodeo grounds.
I panicked and somebody pulled up. I believe they called the ambulance before I could and called my friend to come help.
Surveillance video from a nearby business captures the moment the SUV sped off. You can also see a figure running after it. Balinski is on life support but clinically dead. Romain keeps replaying the moment of the crash in his head.
It's like it should have been me or something, you know? If I was in that spot of hers, that would have been me.
The show went on, and it was a very emotional one for everybody. Most of the people in Houston that would go to shows knew Paige, and it was just really hard for everyone that night. I would dedicate my performance to Paige, and Whitney would sing Blue Jays, which is a song about, losing loved ones, and the crowd would cheer on in the name of Paige that night.
Fuck yeah, Paige! Fuck yeah, Paige!
A day or two later, her friends and family would gather at the Applebee's and would have a candlelight vigil and a balloon release that was led by Hillary and Bo Taylor.
This is all for Paige, for the love that we have. Let it fly.
Love you, Paige. 1, 2, 3.
All right, we fucking love you, Paige!
Love you, baby girl!
Wanted posters of the suspect went around town and were also shared by numerous people on Facebook in hopes of catching Pedro Jesus Salcedo Salazar. His white Grand Cherokee matched the debris left at the crime scene. His vehicle was found at his home in Crosby, and his wife would tell authorities that her husband was the only one who would drive the Jeep and that Salazar had fled to Mexico. And since that day, he's never been caught and justice has never been served. Paige's funeral was attended by many friends and family members, and her mother, Jan, would do a dove release in memory of her daughter, who was taken away too early in life. The Houston Ghost Bike organization put a ghost bike in place at the site of the hit and run. Friends and family often visit the bike and decorate it according to each season and holiday.
And I miss the times that we had. Yes, I do.
A year later, a group of Paige's friends would gather together and would go for a bike ride as part of the Critical Mass Houston, which I thought was a great way to celebrate her life. Halloween Express would go on to create the Memory Bear in honor of Paige, which they proudly display in their stores every season. Paige's mom shared a story with me recently. She was telling me about how Halloween Express had a display set up for Paige in one of the dressing rooms. When she got there, the workers told her that she couldn't try anything on because it was more towards the end of the season. Halloween had been over. And when she tried to look in the dressing rooms, the display had been taken down, and the owner would realize who Jan was. He actually told her, no, go ahead and try on anything you want, use the dressing room. He was really kind to Jan, just like how Paige had been to him and all of his workers. Paige's gymnast sister in Alaska, Jamie, was sent a memory bear that was made out of Paige's leotard. Hillary would go on to plant a tree in memory of Paige. I recently went to Paige's grave and met up with a few people I know, and also met a few of Paige's friends that I hadn't met before, and we sat around and shared a few memories of her for a little while.
I'm Brandy. Hey.
Brandy, Dave.
Dave.
Yeah.
I've known Paige since I was 12. We lived together for a couple of years. It's horrible, but we dropped out of school together at the same time.
Oh, really?
We got our first tattoos together.
Oh, okay, you're the one with the Never Forget the...
Brandy.
That's cool. Me and my...
Yes!
I'm glad some people know. Really?
Yeah, we lived on the same street and we rode bikes together.
Oh, that's cool.
But
Yeah,
I was younger. I didn't hang out with her in high school.
Oh, I put this little bear here. My husband ordered her for me.
Yeah.
And I put a little witch's
Oh, it's one of the bears? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She's riding a broom.
In the end, a few of us shotgunned some St. Arnold's beer in remembrance of her.
I don't drink that often.
Paige would continue being kind and giving even after death, as she was an organ donor. A couple of her organs were donated to a couple people in need, one of them being Miss Karen, who received one of Paige's lungs in a lung transplant. Paige will live on in the hearts and memories of all her friends and family members. She was an amazing daughter, sister, aunt, dog mom, and friend. Now, to end this video, I wanted to leave y'all with a quote that her good friend Hillary had sent me. Paige was infectious. She had a way of growing on you. She had a contagious laugh. Paige also loved hard and was a badass. She was beautiful, smart, funny, kind, and fierce. She never took no for an answer. She was brave and so adventurous. She loved trying new things, going new places, and meeting new people. Paige was unapologetically herself. She had so many different kinds of friends. She was one of the world's brightest lights, a fire that burned bright.